who have read the book, they know that you alluded to the fact that Rock Hudson and Liberace had a fleeting affair.
Yeah. But that's not in the book.
Now, oh, it's not in the book.
There's other stuff on Liberace and so on in the book, but Liberace died the day before the book went to press. And so for ethical and legal reasons, we couldn't reveal this. Rock Hudson had revealed it to me in passing, and at first I was incredulous. I didn't believe it. I thought, he was pulling my leg. But yeah, they had an affair in the very early 50s when Liberace was the bigger star. And it was just for a few weeks, apparently. But then the media caught hold of it, and all the newspapers picked it up.
Okay, I think because Rock Hudson and Liberace were the most high profile of the people, or Rock Hudson was the most high profile of the celebrities in your book, he got the most attention, the most focus of people's curiosity. I'm going to, forgive me for reading so much, but this is too much to memorize. To make it worse, I'm going to quote from the Inquirer.
Oh, okay. I'll brace myself.
The following is from Rock Hudson's longtime friend Tom Clark, and those who know Rock Hudson know well who Tom Clark, how important he was in Rock Hudson's life. His response to the Rock Hudson-Liberace affair: nonsense, it never happened. I knew Rock for 30 years, and he never had any connection with Liberace. It's easy and cheap to write what you like about two dead men. Rock did not know this writer and never spoke to him. The way Rock is quoted is just not the way he talked. Rock certainly would not have revealed something as private and potentially devastating as this, which could have ruined his and Liberace's careers. I still have Rock's personal phone book with the names and numbers of everyone he knew, and Liberace isn't in it. This comes from Liberace's Las Vegas housekeeper for 37 years.
I never met Liberace, by the way.
Okay. I have known Liberace longer than anyone apart from his family. He told me everything. We had a great trust between us. I know everybody who ever came to his house. I was at every party he ever gave, and I can tell you this: he never knew Rock Hudson, never met Rock Hudson, never had Rock Hudson as a visitor. Okay, well, let me just give you one more. This comes from Rock Hudson's, and I say quote-unquote friend, Mark Christian, who I happen to feel exploited the situation infinitely, more so than anyone, in my opinion. But anyway, he says that Rock told me many of his deepest secrets, but he never mentioned Liberace. And from what I know of him, Liberace just wasn't Rock's type. Rock liked masculine men. He would have classed Liberace as definitely effeminate. So these are from three people who were very integral parts of these people's lives. How do you respond to these things?
Well, first of all, I've heard from friends of Rock Hudson, one of whom had said, yeah, I'd heard of that long ago. First of all, you have to remember, this affair apparently was in the very early 50s, when Liberace's TV series was bigger than I Love Lucy. And as for the housekeeper, for instance, of Liberace saying, Liberace told me everything. I mean, does anyone tell anybody, especially a housekeeper, everything, all their secrets, everyone they've ever been to bed with? Would she know every person who ever visited? Besides which, I maybe should have asked Rock Hudson, I didn't particularly care at the time, where did you have the affair? Was it at your home, his home, some other place? It wasn't necessarily Liberace's home.
Why do you think Rock Hudson would tell you these things, especially at that point in time?
Well, okay, I met him in '75 through a friend of one of his ex-lovers. And then we didn't sit down and have an interview for 2 years. And in '77 we did. I did an interview. Part of it was published in a movie magazine. Then, in 1982, we had another interview, a longer interview, and he was much more candid than in '77. But everyone knew in his circle that he was gay, and he was open about it because, first of all, even if you have the poor judgment, which one wouldn't do, to go and tell magazine editor Rock Hudson is gay, they would say, we know that, so what? Nowhere are they going to print it. If Rock Hudson had called a press conference and decided to announce being gay, well, then you'd have seen it in the media, obviously. But otherwise, it'll be completely covered up. Marlon Brando spoke to the French press in the '70s, admitted he was bisexual. It was printed throughout Europe. It has hardly been picked up in the U.S.
I read that, I remember. I more recently read, I think it's in a book about Marlon Brando, that James Dean had actually fallen in love with Marlon Brando. That's in a new book about Marlon Brando. I don't know exactly what name. You haven't heard that, I gather.
I hadn't heard that. I asked Sal Mineo, who co-starred with and apparently had an affair with James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause, all about him. And it's in that chapter, but I hadn't heard that. No.
You'll be hearing it, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
What do you say to the people, and I've heard many people say with reacting to your book. They enjoyed reading the book. I think anything that's a little bit, spicy and you think you're getting a little inside info, people attracts people or readers. But they've also, even the people who've read the book have said that this is like exploitation of these people's sex lives. It's information that people, don't really need to know. They admire these people for their talents and careers, and that to write a book like this is to do it for monetary or financial gain on your part. And these people obviously reap no benefit from the subject, them being the subject of the book. Yeah. How do you respond to that?
Well, when I interviewed these 6 men in Conversations with My Elders, I had no intention to do a book. I was just doing different interviews. And I better explain the title, because it confuses some people who think it's about senior citizens or church officials. It's Conversations with My Elders because these were all conducted between 1972 and 82, when I was between the ages of 18 and 28. So Sal Mineo, who died at 36, was 32 when I met him. I was 18. And it's just the idea that they were elders to me.